Actually, I'm going to ask you about yourself and the habits we've talked about, you've talked about, we've written about. Do they evolve, or have they become so perfected that you don't need to evolve with them?
I think we're always looking at ways to make our program better and the way we do things better, and evaluating even from year to year what things felt went well, where we could be better. So it's always an evolution. At the end, I think what I've learned in my own life personally, that if you're very intentional with the way that you spend your time and the things that you focus on, that you tend to do well in those areas. And for us, the daily habits, the work habits, the consistency, how your body feels, how your mind feels, if you stay in those habits every single day, then you perform mentally, physically at the same level. So certainly there's things within the realm of that we try to sort through, the strengths of our team and things that guys can do in individual workouts and weight room and training room, all those things. But we're always evaluating where we can be better.
And with team, and obviously coming back, I can't remember exactly what he had, 9, 6, and 5, I think, numbers wise, but just how good was it to see him back out there moving the way he could? And also, you've talked in the past how difficult it has been sometimes to gauge really his health because of how badly he wants to be out there. How much better has that, I guess, dialogue been like as he's dealt with more things?
No, it's been great. And I think, I trust Taman 100%. So when we have communication and dialogue, he knows that I'm going to ask him more than once probably how he's feeling, and I'm going to look at a lot of factors and watch how he's moving and evaluate those ways. But what he does a great job of, and I think is a great teachable moment for others when they're in that position, is when he has something happen, he stays so engaged with the team. He's so engaged in every huddle. He does all the extra conditioning, everything you can do in the training room. So what he's able to do is when he is out for a little bit, he's able to come right back in seamlessly. It's not an ease back into it. It's not a now we got to work back up to it. And I think that's a credit to the work that he does on the things that he can control in those moments, and then staying connected to the team.
TJ, with 8 or 9 new players this year, some international, how have you addressed the Cy-Hawk rivalry with them as far as the history, tradition, and what it means to people around here?
Well, we know how important this game, this opportunity is to folks in the state, to our fan base, to all those that have come before us. And, certainly, as we've talked about daily habits, we have a belief in our program that those daily habits, over time, they add up and they work for you and they show up for you in the night of the game. So, we know that it's going to be a physical game. We know it's going to be a competitive game. We know they're off to a great start. So our guys are aware of all those things. And, but we're going to really aim to come out and do the things that we do at our best every single day and be who we are.
And personnel-wise, what sticks out to you about this new look Iowa team under Coach McCollum?
Yeah, he's done a nice job with his team. I mean, obviously, he's got a handful of guys that have been with him, so they're very coachable. You can tell they're connected and they believe in his way of doing things. And then he's got some new guys, some freshmen, a couple transfers that have fit in nicely for him. So, he's doing a good job with their team. I mean, they've had some good wins. They're off to a good start. They've established their identity. Their point guard is proven to be one of the best across the country. So they've got a lot of good things going for them.
And last one for me, Jimmy Rogers being hired as the new football coach. Obviously, you guys overlapped at South Dakota State. What can you tell us about your relationship with him, and what can we expect as far as who he is and his work ethic?
Yeah, I mean, Jimmy's a hard-working, tough grinder. He's a winner, a competitor. He fits the culture we have here and the way of doing things. And so I think we saw that yesterday in the press conference. He did a great job, and I think our fan base and everybody could see that as well. So I'm excited for him to get started. I know he's already done that and continue to move our program forward.
One thing that I've heard a lot of coaches talk about, the way you guys play defense, it takes their offense out of different actions that they maybe want to run. How much of an intent is your defensive approach to take teams out of what they typically would do?
That is our exact intent with our defense is to be disruptive, to cause you to have to do things that are against the normal rhythm of your offense. We want to do that, and we want to be intentional, and I think it starts with the ball pressure in trying to throw off timing, trying to disrupt actions, trying to get the ball stuck with one guy where it's being dribbled and we can kind of load up our defenders. And so all those things go into it, and ultimately, even more than the schematic part or the things that we've designed, there's got to be a sense of pride. There's got to be a sense of how important it is to get a stop, how connected you are to play through possessions when they're not perfect, when something, gets off course a little bit, and then keep competing, find a way to finish it. So that's exactly what we're intending to do. When we're at our best, that's something that we're making sure we're imposing our will on happening, and that's what we'll continue to try to keep our focus on.
I know Coach Painter is a well-regarded coach when it comes to like running sets and everything like that. How much credit does your staff deserve for being able to scout that and then relay it to your players to execute at such a high level defensively, to take them out and prevent them from being able to execute those things?
Yeah, we have tremendous, I personally have tremendous respect for Coach Painter, for the man leader program. I've said it a ton of times, like we've studied a lot of what they've done and tried to emulate and watch and learn. Our coaching staff does a terrific job every single day in developing our guys, putting our guys in position to be successful on the nights of the game. With Coach Green and Coach Blunt specifically working on the defensive side, everything starts with a disruption and a pressure, and we certainly are aware of other teams' primary actions and ways of doing things, and then we have a belief in the way we're doing things, and so sometimes our defense, people can look at it and say, okay, we have an idea what Iowa State might try to do here, but what our coaches do is do a great job building our guys' confidence in our plan and the way we go about it, and then continuing to be disruptive throughout the game. So, whether it's our last opponent, our next opponent, whoever that is, we'll try to be intentional to have that disruptive mindset and mentality.
You mentioned Sturts there briefly, but what are your thoughts on what makes him difficult to match up against?
Yeah, he's a guy that, he plays with great pace to his game. He's in transition, he can really get out and make plays. And then, in the half court, he's an excellent decision maker. He finds ways to beat you on pocket passes, skip passes. He can keep his dribble, he can live in the paint. He makes the right decision over and over and over again. I think whether it's a point guard, a quarterback, guys that continually make the right play and the right decision, and you can tell he has a lot of pride in doing that, and it's been something that he's continued to prove he's done as he's gone up from level to level, program to program, and he's off to a great start for them this year.
Obviously, a former Division II player, you guys have increasingly gone international with your recruiting. What do both of those say about how much talent still is out there outside of those maybe traditional developmental pipelines?
Yeah, I think you have to be open-minded to, so many pathways guys could come into your program. There could be a guy that's playing at a university in Canada, and now all of a sudden they come over. There's prep schools, there's the overtime elite, there's all these overseas situations, there's the transfer portal. There's so many different pathways to evaluate talent and find the right guys, and I think I'm proud of our coaching staff because they do a great job being intentional, finding guys that fit here with us, and we'll continue to do that regardless of what pathway they come through.
How does that test or challenge your guys' evaluation abilities to have to be able to evaluate people out of completely different contexts from each other?
Yeah, and I think for us, all the evaluations start with the character and the body language and the how do you treat your teammates and do you do winning things. And it was cool to hear Coach Painter after our game talk about guys on our team that do winning things, that consistently contribute to winning. And we really try to evaluate guys who are winners, when they were younger, in high school, in college, or junior college, or their last university, or their team internationally, in doing winning things competitively. I think sometimes outside people can look at it and just say, well, let's look at how many points you score, and let's bring in a bunch of points and add them all up, and now we're going to score 150 a night because all of our transfers score X amount. We look at it totally different in terms of how do guys fit together, how do strengths complement one another, to get everybody actually playing at their best. So I think it is a credit to our coaching staff, and so much of those evaluations is about how do people handle hard things? How do they handle adversity? how are they going to mesh into what we do every single day. We say it all the time, our program's not for everybody, and we usually know pretty quickly in the recruiting process. And our only ask would be is if you find yourself not wanting to come here once you learn about how we do things, that you make sure you go somewhere we're going to play against you.
What about Iowa's defense is kind of unique, and what maybe you're seeing in the Big 12, what you guys try to do and preparing to face them?
Well, they do a great job getting their defense set. They try to make sure they really get back in transition, and their gap defenders, they do a great job helping in the gaps. We call it raking, where they try to commit. Once you commit to the drive, they really come over and try to be impactful to keep it out of the paint. Their ball screen defense, they really try to work if you're trying to get downhill, to put two bodies in front of you, and if you drag the screen out laterally, they'll recover. So they do a lot of things to disrupt your rhythm, to disrupt your offense. Shoot, the first league game they play against Michigan State, I think it's 9-9, 10 minutes into the game. Neither team can really get in the paint, and everybody's being really physical. So they've got a physicality to how they do that, in a way that they compete defensively, that you can see that they have pride in the program.
And then one follow-up on Travis's line of questioning there on the overseas recruiting. Nate's kind of been your guy there. What made him that? Does he have a background over there, or what?
At the time, what made him that was being the young guy who wasn't married, didn't have kids. And, now that dynamic's changed a little bit, because both of those things have changed, which I'm happy for him and happy for his wife Cass. But no, he's done a great job building relationships, and I think organic ones over time. And I think there's certainly the opportunities you need to take advantage to go over there and meet people in person and see them, and then there's certainly the film study we do. But I think Nate does a really good job at just being himself, and he's a grinder. He's an extremely hard worker. He's a very trustworthy person, and I think people see that. And I think for recruiting, I think sometimes people think it's about selling and marketing and a pitch, and I think for us it's just more about being blue collar guys, being consistent, working hard, and I think Nate embodies all those qualities so well, and that's proven to really benefit us with the international recruiting.
Coach, thinking back to that 2024 game against TCU when Kurt and Keyshawn were forced to step up at that team, and how many similarities did you see to Torrey taking over in those 3 regular season games at that?
Yeah, with Killian, the thing I'd say is like his consistency. When every time we've seen him out, it looks the same. Now, some games maybe that means 8 points, and another one it means 20. I don't know. But attitude, effort, mindset, mentality, body language, competitiveness, they've been so consistent. And so, you just know when people do that things are going to go their way. I think everybody's journey and their story is totally different. I think there were parts at the start of that, deal for Kurt where, the adjustment to this level and the physicality, and then you got to believe that you can do it. And as amazing as Kurt played for us at the end, I think everybody would say, there was some uncertainty if that was something that he could do at the start. I don't think we've had that question from Killian from the start. I think we've seen from the exhibitions to the first game, it's looked the same. It's looked consistent. It's looked confident. It's looked, there's a toughness, there's an edge. And so, again, I know points is something that everybody else, is going to look at and say, well, he scored more in this game or scored more in that game. The guy's, he's as consistent as they come. He's going to make the right play. He's going to compete. He's going to chase down loose balls. He's going to guard the dribble. He's going to be a great leader. So I think he's proven, over 11 opportunities in front of people, that he's the same guy. It's just a matter of what are the opportunities that present themselves that night.
Last question.
You got it, Ben.
I was just going to follow up on the Jimmy Rogers thing. Some people have maybe drawn some comparisons to him and his program to what you do here. What do you think of that?
I don't know enough about how he runs his program, truthfully. We worked together 7 years ago and beyond. So I'd say, evaluating how everybody runs their program, they have to, Coach Rogers has to do what he thinks is best in his program. I would imagine that toughness, competitiveness, unity, a group that, character guys that work hard. I would imagine, knowing Coach Rogers, that all those things will be part of his program, and those are things we take tremendous pride in as well. So, I wish him all the best, and I guess, we'll see how that continues to play out.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.